contradictions in the colonial experience.
Sure, we are going to examine the colonial period, which lasted from 1910 to 1945. And instead of taking an approach that looks at the colonial period in absolute terms of good, bad, right, or wrong, this lecture is an attempt to try to look at both sides and to see a more well-rounded picture of the colonial experience, to show that it was actually quite contradictory. And if we look at the colonial period, perhaps we'll have a better understanding for how this has influenced modern-day Korean society, as well as current Korea-Japan foreign relations. So not only are we going to look at the historical circumstances under which imperialism emerged, but we're also going to look at how imperialism affected neighboring countries in East Asia and their foreign relations as well. We're also going to look at, through this lecture, how Japan was able to impose its imperial rule over Korea, which was actually a gradual and contested process. And then we'll look specifically at how Japanese colonial rule was actually quite contradictory and contradicted itself in many areas. We'll also examine how Japanese imperialism has influenced modern Korean society today, not just domestically, but also in terms of diplomacy.
Introduction. Overview of imperialism. Political and ideological structure of the Japanese government general. Economic development. Independence movements. Conclusion. Introduction.
So in this first part of the lecture, we're going to try to understand the specific historical circumstances under which imperialism emerged. So there's a long history of imperialism, and in fact, Japanese imperialism came towards the tail end of that long history.
How was the dominance justified?
First, we should examine what is imperialism in general. Well, imperialism is the takeover of a country, a territory, or some kind of area by a stronger nation in order to dominate and control the government, resources, economy, and culture of a weaker nation. And this is a phenomenon that we saw historically that occurred for many, many centuries and throughout the world.
These are the keywords for this class. Imperialism, extraction, resources, nation,